let's quickly make the switch to Chrome from Maya. And let's look at the AlShader library. So the AlShader library is a shader library for Arnold developed by Anders Langlands. Anders is currently a VFX soup at Weta, and to me he is on the same level of genius as Isaac Newton, and James Maxwell. Is absolute genius and inspiration to me. So back when we didn't have Arnold 5 yet, we had Arnold 4. This shader library was an incredibly big deal. So it completely replaced the standard surface shader of Arnold, for example, the hair shader. This was the cutting edge. And it still is really, but Arnold 5 brought along a lot of changes to the API, and I don't think it would have to be completely rewritten in order to make it compatible again. And Arnold took over a lot of the features from it, so that's why it's not being developed right now anymore. Although there are some pattern and utility nodes. For example, over here you've got nodes to layer colors, to remap float values, to layer float values, etc, etc. Different types of fractals, noise patterns, and all the good stuff. And to follow along in this tutorial, you will need to install this shader library. It's a good thing to learn because it won't be the last time you do this. Custom shaders are always around the corner and are always good fun to play around with. So over here, one thing to note is that the latest version 1.00 RC19 is actually still for Arnold 4. So the pattern and utility nodes did get converted, and there was a separate release for this. So you do have all the installation instructions over here, which you can follow, and I will go into these later. But to download the actual shaders, you will need to go to the Bitbucket repository of Anders Langlands AlShaders and then downloads. This is just, the shaders are open source, so you can look at all the source code, and here's just the download section relating to the source code. So over here we've got the Arnold 5.000 release, and this is the one we will download. So there we go, should be downloading. And then the installation. If you install shaders in Arnold, here's two ways of doing it. Either you can copy the contents of the folder into Arnold directories in the Arnold installation folder, or you can set up some environment variables to link Arnold to certain locations. And personally, I like to set this up this way. It's a bit more professional to do this. It's a bit more production oriented. So how do you do this? If you don't know how to install some environment variables, or to set some environment variables, you can just quickly Google it, or just go over here, go to environment variables, and over here you can see that, if I can get rid of this, over here, okay, so over here we have the Arnold plugin path, the M2A templates path, and the Maya custom template path. And then over here you just create a new one. For me is editing it, and then you just link it to the certain directory you want to put the shaders in. That is all there is to it. And then to validate this, you can relaunch Maya and, for example, try and create an AL layer color. And if you can do this, the installation was correct. This is what you need, or an AL remap float. These are nodes we will be using constantly when we are shading the assets of the scene, so it's important to get these. I should also note that these days Arnold provides a lot of the same functionality, but I am just used to these. I'm used to the way they behave, and they are still just incredibly useful, so I prefer these ones. So if you install these, you can follow along later on.